public hearing. Well, we'll get this started. The public is, well. Let's, who's coming down the stairs? Oh, hi. I just called the meeting roll.
I heard.
Okay.
That means I was here, right?
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
That's what we didn't want to be brought up. Yeah.
this is the public hearing for taking public comment on our 23-24 village Canton preliminary draft of the proposed budget. Will take effect June 1st. This proposed budget represents a 1 cent per thousand increase in the tax rate, which is an increase of 0.9% from last year. Did I get that right? The increase in the tax levy is 1.99%, which puts us under the 2% tax cap. Proposed increases in water and sewer rates will be 3%. And really, that's because of the numerous water and sewer projects that we have planned and outlined by the infrastructure committee in the last several board meetings. Taxable assessments increased by $3,268,287 or 1.86% over last year. The total assessed value of property $521,079,674 in the village, $345,454,441 or 66.3% is exempt. It's a slight decrease in the percentage of tax exempt properties over last year. Costs associated with payroll are 36% and benefits 19% for a total of 55% of our total budget. Payroll and benefits consuming this large portion of the budget, controlling labor cost is always a priority for us. All employees are eligible for health insurance coverage. And they are all employees that are eligible for health insurance coverage are contributing at various levels towards the premiums, which offsets this cost slightly. All participating employees are now on the high deductible plan. Capital equipment requests in this budget are outlined in section 9 of our budget. In the amount of $725,909. Budget includes funding for $502,409 for those requests. The funding for last year's items was $581,373. It's a decrease of $78,964. Paving projects scheduled for this year total $150,000, up $25,000 from last year's total of $125,000. Most of this will be covered by CHIPS funding. So, that being said, are there any public comments? Here we go. With such a low increase, this is usually the case for our budgets that we don't get much attendance from the public, and I did not receive any comments about the budget in writing or otherwise. No, nobody else did.
No emails or anything. No.
So, I think we're probably in pretty good shape. Comments from the board?
That's right.
I just appreciate Sally and the mayor working on hard to make them more like these and that. Thank you.
Yeah, I meant to say that also to Sally, which very hard to put this together. Yep.
It's a lot of work.
Yep, all the department heads contribute. In our very first iteration of the budget, we plugged everything in that everybody asked for. Wants, needs, however you want to define it, but in the end, I think we got it to where everybody, I believe, is happy. But I think it's a very positive budget. So with that being said, any other comments from the?
Sounds like a crowd.
Oh, yeah, we have a bunch of
It's a
people
crowd.
coming.
It's a happy crowd.
Come on in, sit down.
Love this crowd.
Huh?
Sit back.
No. We're doing a public hearing for our budget. If any of you are here to comment about our budget, please feel free to comment. I think I know what you're here for, Joe. Well, we still have a couple minutes to go before we move on, so.
I would like to add that, it was a much different process this year than it was last year. And I appreciate that greatly. There's a lot of participation between committees and department heads, a lot of cooperation. It was a very nice process. And I appreciated the questions and, it was great. It was a good year.
We will be having a special meeting. Well, we have one more budget unit, budget meeting. And then we have a special meeting scheduled for the 27th. Past this. This has to be adopted by May 1st. We'll give it a couple more minutes, see if any more from the public come in, and then we'll move on. See the chief up there?
We just told them.
Oh, okay.
No.
No more comments? No comments. Well, that's a good sign. Why don't we just close the
This is the best audience we've had in a while.
public comment
I
session?
feel like we should have. comments.
Right.
I know. And what if we comment on the 27th?
Need a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, give it a few more minutes. We have a few people to come in, then we will get our program going here. We have a couple of things we're gonna move to the front.
Thank you.
Come on in, Jim. We just closed our public hearing.
We're good.
I think what I'm gonna do. is we'll swear in new officer.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a presentation. Gotta add a few things to it. Yeah. And if anybody from the public speak up about our budget, pro or con. So
So that means it's all good.
I think it's good.
Look at that great big raise.
Yeah.
No, that'd be me.
Well, you know, hope springs eternal. Way that works. I don't know what it is. We always spend too much time scheduled for these.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
15 minutes isn't really that much time.
You don't think?
Right.
No, believe me, if the tax increase was 15%, we need more than 15 minutes.
Yep.
You read what you saw.
And it did, right? Sure it did.
You didn't have any trouble with your car in Montreal, did you?
No, I've heard.
Bob tell you his car was stolen
No.
from the bank?
No.
He parked at a hotel, the Holiday Inn. It was stolen. They found it somewhere.
I had a
Tore up.
friend that,
No, nothing.
you know, it was downtown.
Somebody.
And they're in for dinner and he'd get something on his phone, so he goes to that site, and cars compare, and it's all electronic. And they took it, the cops said there's so many being stolen that, it's probably a shipping container on its way to these.
The guy from the bank there in Potsdam, he had his stolen. They found it, it's tore up.
That's fascinating.
So it was already torn up. It was torn up, it's ready to go into, it was at a port or something, ready to get, ready to ship out, yeah.
Bring the car up there that's worth it.
Right?
Did you park in the parking garage?
No, the parking lot.
Did you? Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you. His wife had to have surgery, I talked to him, well, you know. Right. Yeah, they confused themselves. He'll be on, he'll be here when he gets there, he'll be fine. What do you think? Wait a couple minutes or? We'll get there.
We got a big freedom back there. Everybody's ready to get in. Yeah. Well, I think we probably get started. That was good, Mike. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Close enough to 6:30. There's a couple of changes. I have additions to the agenda. J is approved fire department members. K is to approve fire department officers, and L is an issue about parking behind the movie theater. I'm also going to rearrange a little bit here, so I'll call the we'll approve minutes. And we have a police officer to swear in. We'll do that, and then we have a presentation. So, with that being said, I need a motion to approve minutes from February 15th. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have a new police officer to swear in, probationary police officer, Joseph Mastro. Come on up. Chief. All here.
I was supposed to swear in and then after you get hired, you get sworn out.
Can we
Go
do the
ahead.
flag?
Huh?
We do the flag.
Well, take a picture up there. And
I can really do
if you want to have something to say, go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. I mean,
Before we start.
yeah, prior to this swearing in, I would love to say, I was part of the hiring committee And Joe had a really great interview. We were really impressed. I have every confidence that he is going to be a really stellar community police officer. He was able to, for a couple of us who were interviewing, he even knew what pizza orders we have, so he's got a good memory. And he is a really personable person. He'll be a personable officer and have a really positive impact on our community. So welcome to our team. And here's to be a great officer.
Do solemnly swear
Don't swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of probationary police officer
and that I faithfully discharge the duties of probationary police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Perfect.
Do I have a picture of the chief?
When do you start phase 2?
April 22nd.
Congratulations. Welcome to the Chief, we're pleased to have you.
Do you have pictures of the chief?
Yes, I.
Yeah,
Pictures of the chief?
parked in photo bomb.
You're gonna do a great job.
You will.
Very excited.
Thank you, everybody.
So you know, meeting schedule.
No, right?
Well, you move pretty good like that. Okay. Taking care of that little piece of business. Thank you for your patience. We have a presentation tonight from the Health Initiative, Cancer Prevention and Action Program Coordinator, Angelina Blank. Angelina asked to come to speak to me a couple weeks ago, maybe, and just thought it was important that she came and talked to the board here tonight. There's several department heads here that I think will be interested in some of the programming that she has and that might be effective, whether it's rec or maybe DPW, golf course type stuff. It's important information, and I will tell you from a personal experience, I am a cancer survivor. I had colon cancer when I was 46. And as I talk to other people, there's more people that I learn about over time here that have had all sorts of things. So I just thought it was important to give her a few minutes to talk to the board. Anybody have any questions when she's done? She has several programs that she might be helpful for us. So Angelina. I'm all set. That's good. Just so you speak up, anybody on the.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here and talk to you guys today. So as the mayor said, my name is Angelina Blank. I'm a program coordinator at the St. Lawrence Health Initiative. And the program I coordinate is called Cancer Prevention and Action. We are funded by the New York State Department of Health. We work in the counties of St. Lawrence, Jefferson, Lewis, and Oswego. And so between those 4 counties, we do a lot of community outreach and engagement. And we really have 3 main areas of focus. The first one is promoting the HPV vaccine as cancer prevention. The HPV vaccine has been around since 2006, but since then, there's been a lot of misinformation and kind of uncoordinated marketing around it. So there's still a lot of education to be done. And that's still very apparent to me, even when I go on college campuses and talk to college students who I assume this would be a refresher for, and some of them look at me like it's the very first time they're hearing about this. So it's really important work. We try to talk to providers as well, and, you know, explain that their role is so important in getting adolescents vaccinated so that they'll be protected later in life. So that's our first initiative. The second one is a paid time off for cancer screening policy. Now, that is already in law for public employees. So you guys already have the basic 4-hour, each year you get 4 hours for cancer screenings. But public sector employees obviously will be up to the employer. So we go out and we talk to people about the importance of this type of policy work, that employers can indeed have an effect on cancer rates, and you can help the workforce stay healthier by giving them a certain amount of hours per year to get paid and go get their cancer screening. And so that's the second initiative. And then the third one is a skin cancer prevention initiative where we educate about the dangers of ultraviolet radiation from both the sun and indoor tanning. So we do a lot of education about that. And we also do policy work with that, where we work with public and private organizations to develop sun safety policies to limit ultraviolet radiation exposure for employees, students, visitors, so whatever the site may be. So those are our three main things. And I thought it would be good to talk to you guys today. So as the mayor said, I reached out to him first. It was actually a story in the newspaper that I read. The one about the Remington Trail getting the permanent story walk. And so I've always got the cancer prevention, my mindset's always on how can I fit this into my work, so even in my personal life. So I'm reading this and I'm like, this could be an awesome opportunity for sun safety work. And so that's kind of the impetus of why I reached out. So if it's okay with you, in your folders, I wrote up a little skin cancer prevention kind of little handout. Just basically explaining the problem, which is skin cancer is very common. 1 in 5 Americans are expected to get skin cancer at some point in their lifetime. And if you take all the diagnoses of skin cancer, all of those, that number surpasses all other cancers combined. It's that common. And that's including the 3 types of skin cancer. But melanoma, the one we tend to focus on is melanoma, which is the deadliest version of skin cancer. So UV or ultraviolet radiation from both the sun and artificial sources like tanning beds and tanning lamps are responsible for over 90% of skin cancers. So that tells us that most skin cancers are preventable, right? We would call that a modifiable risk factor. And one other thing I wanted to point out that's really important about, sun exposure is that the rays are most intense between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when most people are out working or playing or having those very popular times to be out. So it's really important that we keep people safe whenever we can. So why this matters? So we can raise awareness about the issues because, today I did an event on St. Constance campus, a wellness fair. And I was talking to a lot of college students about sun safety. And again, just like I assume that they would know all this stuff about HPV, there is a lot of misinformation about tanning and exposure in the sun. And one of the questions I asked, I have a little trivia wheel, and I said, one of the questions was, how long does it take? How many minutes before the sun starts to do damage to your skin? And a lot of them guessed 30 minutes, an hour. And I was like, no. If you are fair skinned, that number is 5 minutes. If you are of a darker skin tone, it's about 15 minutes. But either way, regardless of skin tone, damage is occurring and in very little time. So the education piece is really important, especially for outdoor workers. So there's a lot of departments within the Village of Canton that has workers that do their work outdoors. And so it's important to reduce risks for outdoor workers. They're at an increased risk. And actually, men have a higher rate of skin cancer incidences than women. And that surprises some people because they tend to think like women like sunbathing and all those kind of like stereotypes. But the reality is, truth is, most men hold jobs that are, all right, I'm saying this backwards. Most outdoor jobs are held by men. And you know, if you're not taking those proper precautions, even if you put on sunscreen at the beginning of the day, you still have to reapply 80 minutes later. So, which a lot of people are, let's get real, are not doing. So we have outdoor workers to consider, and then we also have visitors to consider. So through the rec department, you guys have 5 parks, 2 boat launches, and the golf course, which we know it's not through the rec department, but obviously it's in the village. And some of those areas are lacking shade, and so without that shade structure, either natural with the trees or some kind of shade sail or pavilion, anything like that, you're putting all those people at risk as well. And I did speak with Megan yesterday about kind of, you know, what was under the jurisdiction of the village. And she told me that there were almost 6,000 both beach and park visitors at Taylor Park Beach last year. So that's a lot of skin that, you know, needs protecting. So what do we do about it? We can develop a policy. So my program, CPIA, works with municipalities as well as private organizations to develop sun safety policies that basically attest to your commitment to keeping visitors, employees, and residents unsafe. And so that usually includes things like, you know, how they can keep themselves safe. So things they can wear, equipment they can utilize, education for supervisors, because they would be the ones on the field, making sure people are, you know, taking these sun safe measures. And then promotion of the policy through writing. So through signage, through newsletters, social media posts, anything we can do to promote this and kind of create that groundswell, just getting as many people on board as possible for this really important initiative. So if you have any questions.
You had indicated there's sometimes there's funding, grant funding for
Absolutely.
some, you know, maybe a portable sunscreen app, you know, dispenser or things like that.
The really awesome thing about Cancer Prevention in Action, or CPIA, so we abbreviate it CPIA. We are able to use grant funds to support policy work wherever it may be. So we have money allocated for each site that adopts a policy. So for municipalities, especially, we are able to provide quite a bit of support because there's so many different areas. So sunscreen dispensers, we've worked with places that they give the sunscreen dispenser to their like DPW type workers, and they actually affix it to the truck. Or there's kind of portable shade structures that you can attach to a truck. There's all kinds of UPF clothing and just safety equipment that's available. So really there's tons of stuff, and we are able to provide that through grant funds.
Would that include beaches?
Yeah, so Postwood in Hanawa,
Yep.
so they signed a sun safety policy at the end of their season last year, and so we gave them a sunscreen dispenser that they're gonna put down by the beach area.
Yep.
And we're gonna do a whole big press release about it when they reopen. And so that way, that's what we consider an environmental change. So it makes, ultimately in the cancer prevention world, we're trying to make the healthy choice become the norm or the easier choice. So in this case, with sunscreen dispensers, it's not, oh, I forgot my sunscreen, I'm just gonna have to burn. It's, oh, I forgot my sunscreen, but look, there's a sunscreen dispenser, and it's just like those automatic hand sanitizer ones where you just put your hand under and there's your sunscreen.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
So what do you have to do to be able to qualify for that? You have to do some policy work?
yeah, so with CPIA, we write the policy. We're involved as much or as little as an organization is interested. So we can write the whole thing and you can just say, sounds good. I know that's not how it works in government.
Oh, you've been around,
Right?
been around a little bit.
So, but we basically, we start the groundwork, right? So a template even, and whatever works, we do what's called a pre-assessment. It's just a series of yes or no questions about current practices. And from that pre-assessment, we go from there and build a template, work on it, whatever committees need, say, and then of course, board members. And that's basically it. Once it's adopted into policy, that's basically saying you guys all agree that this is important and that you will all, you're all behind it, right? And then from there, we are able to buy supports, and then I'll write a press release and it'll be awesome, and everybody will know all the great work that's going on. And, yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna be keeping residents and employees and visitors safe from the sun.
I have a question that might be way too much in the weeds, and if it needs to be outlined, that's fine too. In terms of a dispenser for suntan lotion. Specifically with lotion, do you indicate what it is?
Like the ingredients.
The ingredients, because I know that kids can react, or people can react to different ingredients.
Yep, so we actually use mineral sunscreen, which is the kind that so there's two types of sunscreens, and I know there's a big controversy in the sunscreen world lately.
I don't know that much, I just know people react to it.
A lot of times people have reactions to the chemical sunscreen, which is the one with like avobenzene and all those other ones. And that's the one that's kind of been around longer.
Yep.
And the one that is, those are also the kind that are banned in like Hawaii and other tropical places, right? Because they kill coral reefs.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, not kill, bleaching. Coral reef bleaching. Yep. So, in those types of places in like Australia, I'm pretty sure the whole continent, you can't use the chemical stuff. You have to use mineral stuff because it has to do with, is the science behind it. The chemical stuff, it actually, if you look under a UV filter, it looks like you are putting on black paint. And that is because the sunscreen, it absorbs the rays, but there's a chemical reaction that kind of like disarms the harmful effects. Whereas mineral sunscreen, it goes on white, and under UV filter, it looks white, and it like makes the rays bounce back.
Reflects the
Yes,
rays
reflects
rather
the
than
ultraviolet
the-
radiation, the UVA, UVB
What is
rays.
this a big thing?
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah. So we give mineral sunscreen.
Okay.
And if you think it would be important, because the dispenser we give would also comes with like a stand and like space for a sign. So that could be something that could be added to the sign, like just to let parents know.
It's mineral and not the other.
Mineral base,
Right,
yeah.
and then, I mean, this is like what the chemicals you were talking about, kava is another one that's really big too.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, so, EAVA and whatever else comes out here. But anyway,
Okay.
sorry, that might have been in the weeds.
No, that was actually, no, it's a
Any-
very relevant question nowadays.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Angelina?
It's great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Follow up with me. I want to talk to especially Megan, our director, about
I didn't.
some opportunities. She's in the back there.
Hi. Yes, I want to talk about the confusion of recreation.
And then the golf course, maybe some opportunities there.
Yes.
For that kind of thing, the DPW certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
We'll be in touch.
okay, all right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to department head reports. Oh, look at that. Recreation's on top. No, that's the way it went in my folder. And I do have some of the other things from Angelina that I can share with people.
I don't know, want to talk of the, some skin cancer prevention.
Okay, rec.
Winter's over.
It was snowing this morning. What are you talking about?
It'll be your fault.
Thank you.
So our ice season concluded on April 2nd, 2 weeks later than normal. We did that because we didn't want their ice. For about 3 months ahead of their year. So we picked up 3 tournament. So it was. Yeah, the extra 2 weeks made a lot of ice. Let's see, we got the ice out on April 5th. We had Village PW and Town Highway doing that. We got it all done in 2 hours. So that was great. Last year was the record at 4 hours. And then new weekends coming up very quickly. This past weekend, we're hoping the Maple Run down at Benton Park. And we got a lot of compliments on that. We had perfect weather. And then I do have, not rec related, but I'm on the Brown Bear Ramble, the story tour book committee. So we met last night, so everything's fresh. So right now, everything is on schedule to be installed and ready to go this fall. Mayor, you should be getting a letter soon from Doreen, because there are 3 village-owned buildings that we have to put approvals on to get permission. I did stress that whenever we figure out who's in charge of that, that whoever's in charge of it is actually there during installation, so that way we can see it. And so that way, if we need to replace one or fix it, or, you know, we know how it's attached and how we fix it. Here, so right now, I know they talked with Lee about joining up their kickoff with the Remington Arts Festival. Yeah, I guess the theme this year is cast in bronze, and the figurines are bronze, so it's gonna be 10, so it should help with the kickoff and the story for it as well. Yeah, so basically right now, we're kind of planning the whole kickoff day. They have raised $13,000 so far. They have $1,500 pledged. And they are waiting on a grant of $10,000, which will cover everything. So they're plugging away. And that's it, yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
so if anybody has questions about the brown bear scramble.
All right.
So fun. I just a shout out to you, because I know it's a lot more work to have ice in for a couple of weeks longer. Yes, and we appreciate you being a really strong community member, and being a partner with City of Canton. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was hard to know the staff. Yeah. We were very excited for 2.5 extra weeks. But yeah, it's tough right now because we're 2 weeks behind on everything. So it's crunch time.
Anything else? Okay. Linda, looks like you're next. Need to add your report?
I'm here. You will all got my report.
Yep.
Okay, good. Any questions? Then I have something.
I'm good.
I thought, we would like that pictures about, snowmobiles they built for the mailmen in the early 1920s. Because horses were out of date and cars were not very helpful. That was a good story that people were very, active in town. But then what read it tonight, I just found, because I'm still unpacking on it. We found the whole history of an Aggie vocational agricultural college in New York. It is unreal. Canton is in here with occupation and Herbert Cook. We got the first one started in St. Lawrence in 1907. And that's when the father graduated. So we continue to unpack and find the items that were never shown in my one book. I mean, every day, something about that, finds that never.
How fun is that?
It's too.
Is it like Christmas every day? What's the next one?
People that are coming in now, and there's not a day that goes by, the Amish come. They heard about it, and they go back to the room. Which read it as a box and rainbow. We have to do something for it. It takes everything that is there on pictures and materials. And then frankly, it was 8 people. And he'll be 105. Now, I'm saying will be fun. At the same day. So when is the Harris? First, anyone know?
The first week.
First Saturday. Okay. No, we have 105. They gave us. So I'm gonna be going out.
Yeah, looks like that.
No, it's just a different habit.
Thank you.
I hope that lasts. No, that's all.
Thank you. Anybody? Partridge Run, Kevin. Off to a flying start.
Last 5 days were summer-like weather and the golf course was busiest I've ever seen it for 5 straight days. So, a really good sign. Well, Scott's got the golf course in the best shape I've ever seen. We haven't had the grass going.
He's working on his tan though.
I didn't put in the report, I've been working with Fort Drum to get the regional, Northeast Regional Purple Heart Tournament.
Oh, that's great.
And we're gonna have 36 4-man teams. And it'll probably be a good 120 Purple Heart recipients from around the state in the Northeast. And it's gonna be in August. If all planning goes right, so we already got the date. I just got several meetings with people at Fort Drum.
Good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be very exciting to see that. A lot of them with disabled vets that contribute to this. So I have the VFW here in town, it's gonna be, we're gonna do a lot after the tournament at VFW too, and the clubhouse. So it'll be pretty good. It's just one of many tournaments that are in the works right now.
Good, good. Scott? Anything to add? I think.
The season started pretty well.
Yeah.
Brought back a couple of guys early April, and we got at it pretty good. The weather was great. So we'll say we're thinking about skiing, but it's a little different up here weather-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Overall, I think it's very good. We've got a couple new pieces of equipment, not new, but new to us. Which is gonna help us tremendously. We've got a couple more people coming in this weekend. Staffing looks good. Got a lot of people, asking to come to work, and we're working with Penske's going well. They're pretty receptive anytime looking for somebody, that goes well. So overall, I think everything's good. We were very, very busy, as Kevin said. And I think it's gonna continue that way. This week is supposed to be nice. Looking forward to getting a little bit, a couple more guys in to start to fine tune some things. But for this time of year and opening week, I think we're in pretty good shape, and looking to continue that throughout the season. So I think everything's going pretty well. Tim's been great to work with. It's been very helpful if I need something.
Well, he's, I know he's struggling to work with you and finding some equipment. Supply chain has been difficult.
Yeah, that's tough. It's gonna be tough. And the reason I think it was important that we were able to get those 4 main pieces of equipment is it kind of bridges the gap if we do get to order equipment in the next year or so. Right now, it's over a year out for most of it. So the stuff we got, like I said, is not new, but we got it at a very good discounted price. So even if we have to wait a year or two, I think we'll be able to order new stuff and even sell this stuff we got in at a profit. So like I say, it's every day is it's always, for me, I just love what I do, and it's always great to go out there and see things get better and better. And the guys that came back from last year are very helpful. They're working hard, and like I said, everybody's been chipping in. Mark and Brad and Long over at the sewer plant, they're always there to help me out and do whatever. I'm not a mechanic, and they're those guys are good.
Yeah,
So
good.
everything is good.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Tim Nolan,
Good evening.
anything to add to your report that you submitted?
Nothing to add. Thank you. Based on the grant that's coming up,
Yeah, that's on the agenda
will
for
be on the agenda. I have issued 8 new building permits. Total revenue of $1,619. The inspected Harrison House, formerly Hell Apartments. Can't matter apartments. With a bit of occupancy with Morgan's barbecue and stuff. A complaint that sewer backup, A Express. DBA hearing for electronic messaging sign. We have.
Okay. Thank you. Treasurer,
Well, my main work has been on the budget.
yeah, and thank you.
Little while. We have had a couple people interested in a potential food trucks. So that was positive, I thought. I have attended a couple of webinars, one on cyber awareness and the other on ARPA reporting.
Okay. Any questions for Sal? Okay.
Having talked with the folks that what's the minimum to your you know, scary kind of stuff to me,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't mind talking to you about that a little, at some point.
Okay, anything for Sally? There being none, chief, looks like you're next in the pile.
Just the one thing I wanted to add is last night, Mayor, Reverend Mike and myself went to the school board. Asked them to consider speaking to us or being willing to meet with us to discuss possibility of SRO, school resource officer. It seemed to be well received, I thought, they've been willing to speak to us, so we'll see how that goes. Well, other than that, we have interviews scheduled for tomorrow evening.
Yep.
For our last open position, so see how that goes. Not any questions.
Just a comment, from what I understand from the meeting last night, I think it was appreciated that it would be, that there was a proposal to have it be a community-based conversation about the SRO, so it's not just a board making decisions or a board in a municipality, but there's actually some buy-in from the community. That there's conversation about the burden comes to, you know, all around, so I think that was really appreciated. And I think that could be really good conversation that happens over the next months.
So if there's not community buy-in, it's not gonna happen. At this
Right.
point, but
Right,
people have a chance to say that either they want it, great, if they don't want it.
yep. So,
I appreciate the chance to come.
yeah. So good. Look forward to updates on that.
Anything? Okay. What's the matter? You're looking at. What's that one? You see, yes. No. She has a look. Thank you. Cindy.
Hi, good evening. First off, I just have to come in and you guys are talking about the budget and it's based off of the 2022 assessment roll. And here I am today finishing up the assessment roll for 2023 and it's being printed as we speak. Again, I was supposed to have a presentation tonight for SDG ImageMate, which is a systems development group based out of Utica. This company works hand in hand with all the government and their programming and everything. And it's been free to the assessors and it's been a lot program and now it's being accessed to the public for free. And it's out there on the St. Lawrence County website. But next month, I didn't get to do it with the town. I was not present with the last meeting, so they wanted me to do it there first. So next month I'll have the presentation for you guys just to show you how to get into the program and what you're looking for. And it's a really good information out there and it helps people. Yeah, if they're coming to grievance, so they want to look at what their assessment is and what inventory they have on their parcel and everything. So I'll get into that next month with it. Being that the equalization rate did drop from 86% this year to 74%. It was a big drop with a lot of sales, a lot of analysis out there. The sales were coming in over and above what the assessments were, and it just kept going, you know. As the sales were coming in, if things I mean, if they were coming in double or triple what they said, I would look at the sale. I was able to go out onto the MLS and look at what inventory I had on that parcel, and if I was missing something, at least I could put somewhat of a value on it. So there were a lot of that going on, trying to keep up. But like I said, I can't just single out these sales and just bring everybody up to what they sold for. Because that's what they call selective assessment. If you do one, we do everything. So that's why that happened. So just for information, the basic star exemption dropped from 27,000 and it's going to 25,800. So that's all the people who are under 65. They'll see probably a slight increase in their tax bill for school. The enhanced star went from $57,410 last year, and it went up to 70,000. Reason being, the state raised the limit on the enhanced star. So if we were at 100%, the enhanced star would be 81,400. So we're not. So we have to equalize that. So when they did, we came in at 70. So for the enhanced star recipients, their tax bill, they might see a drop in their school tax bill. Anybody have any questions on my report? Okay, coming to grievance is in May, fourth Tuesday in May. We did get a new bar member. I'm now at 4. I'm hoping that we can't go for 5 because the training for the bar members is May 2nd. And there's not enough time. Did put a public release out there to get bar members, and we got one person. They came in. Yeah, Lance. That's good. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, Ann? Thanks, Cindy. Okay, you got the dog report, Director of Economic Development. She had a conflict tonight. Superintendent.
I don't have much to add. We're in the process right now, of working with a tree contractor to remove 19 trees from village trees that were deemed by DEC should be removed. We're using some funds that were left over from a DEC grant to cover the majority of it, about 90% of it. So we're kind of getting a good bang for our buck, so to speak. DPW is working with the crews to remove all the brush, and we will be doing the stumps. That could be in the fall, but we've been telling all the residents we will take care of that just a bit later. So that is slowing down brush pickup process. We may receive a few complaints about that in the meantime until we can get caught back up. It is what it is. Got to talk about golf course, Kevin. What's really all I have that?
And we appear to have resolved after
Yes.
it took a lot of.
Yeah, it's
But
hard. It's hard for them. I mean, hard for us, but
I think they'll. Whatever you explain.
yeah, we had a few of them. Not easy. I mean, you know, some people have looked at that stuff for 30, 40, 60 years, you know.
Yeah.
But when we started taking down the day, it didn't look so bad near the base. When they're dropping stuff from 70 feet up, it was coming down like dog hair. Stuff was shattering and hit the
So
ground
imagine-
and dead stuff just flew everywhere. So I
It
mean, it's better to take it down in a controlled manner now than have that
Have Mother Nature do it for you.
Well, whether it's landing on your roof or.
Yeah.
somebody's head.
Or your car.
Or your head.
And in the winter.
Right.
So below zero.
Yeah.
Great. So a tree that maybe $1,200 today would cost us $4,000 in the winter.
So, have we heard from Tisdale's? I think they were supposed to be getting us an agreement for doing the work on the rest of the water.
No,
We've not heard that either.
and I was gonna run over and talk to Lee today. But she had talked to Aaron. She left a little bit early to get to where she was headed, so. I didn't know if she had also,
Right.
but yeah, no on that.
Thank you. Anything else, anybody? I need a motion to accept department head report. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
I.
I oppose. Committee reports.
Well, I mean,
There's several out there, so.
there certainly are. I can start. Communications and technology, a couple of things. First, we recirculated the social media policy. That's the most recent draft that we have worked up on the committee. And we just wanted to get that in front of y'all because it is intended to be discussed at our joint meeting. So if there are any discussions before this, you know, from our board prior to that meeting, I wanted to throw that out there, so. Is he there?
No, thank you. We should have all gotten a copy of it. Looking good. Looking good.
I think we got everybody's
Yep.
comments included, so. Then the other thing that committee has been working on is the website development, and we have made progress, and we were hoping to have a one pager on with the options that we as a committee had selected. So we worked with three different vendors. Explored several, some, you know, were not even available to take new clients. So, we explored several. We had presentations from three and follow-up presentations from our top two from that list. And so we would like to go, our recommendation, which you will see when we get all of the attachments we need, will be to go with a company called Revise. They have a content management system that is super user friendly, both for the people creating the pages and the posts and the all of the calendar events and, you know, all of it. It seems it's a system where, you know, what you look at your page and you edit what you want rather than having to go into a back end system and learn something of a language and all of that. So that's good. And it also, they have really good support. They have really good training. They have satisfied us in terms of the different ways that they can, you know, build a site that will work for both the town and the village and all of our various shared, projects, as it were. So, there are some great additional add-ons, some that we have already selected that will allow us to do things like have fillable forms. So department heads, when they are applying for, a building permit, for example, they would not only be able to fill it and print it and then carry it in, they could maybe fill it, print it and submit it electronically, like, stuff that's really gonna improve the efficiency. Some other stuff around, what else were we doing? An intranet, so that there can be an internal employee portal for HR policies. Yeah, stuff like that that isn't necessarily public, but would be useful in the post. As well as some, just some other things. I don't know if you had some.
Was that like the notifications?
Yes, email and text notifications, so that when you know, an update is made and, you know, certain filters are clicked, the people that, you know, want copies of the agenda every month automatically
The
will
pavilion
go.
is closed.
The pavilion is closed, everyone will get an alert, you know, things like that.
Can I? didn't do
Absolutely. You know, so really good, you know, community engagement tools as well as, you know, just being a repository for information. And there's functionality if we wanted more, but that's what we figured we would, you know, sort of begin with. So, the cost, again, I mean, this is not official because we haven't received their, proposal, after we did our selections, but, for the first 5 years, you can essentially roll your, annual cost plus the cost of, developing the site, into,
So the maintenance.
right, so for 5 years, for the, villages portion, it would be $3,135. And then after that 5 years, the way it's set up now, it would be $1,900 a year, which works out to only be like $25 more a month than we pay now. So, you know, the committee's feeling really good, and our clerks are feeling, our town and village clerks are feeling very good about this. So, we will circulate that just as soon as we have all the attachments, and it will be up for discussion at the board meeting. Right, is there anything else?
Sounds good.
It's great.
Okay, economic development. We've been busy. It appears that, the county chamber integration, process is moving forward, that it will go to a vote of the Canton board and the, members of the chamber. And so sort of in anticipation of that, we have met with, the county chamber to begin to talk about what a municipal contract for services might be. So we will continue to talk about those things, and we will be bringing that recommendation to y'all hopefully very soon. If all goes as expected, that integration should be happening through July time. So that would be when such a contract would begin. The Economic Development Steering Committee meets tomorrow, 8 AM, the day after the board meeting, as always, it's fabulous timing. I just wanted to let y'all know that, you know, on our agenda now, and it's sort of one of the things that we have been talking about internally is, you know, support of our downtown businesses. You know, particularly in the summer, it can be really difficult for our businesses. And so we wanted to have a larger community conversation around that, so we have invited our small business community to come to that meeting tomorrow. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we can work on some initiatives for improving, supporting the businesses, improving promotion, whatever that might look like. And then last for ED, but not least, we're also working on housing, talking about doing a housing roundtable. To talk about, you may have remembered that we've been working on a draft strategic plan for housing. So I think we're at the stage where we're trying to identify what those concrete, actionable steps are. Like, what can we, you know, start to do to really kind of address some of the gaps in housing? You know, because we've definitely identified several areas that, you know, we need some improvement in our housing stock for sure.
And it dovetails with the state, you know, the governor's housing proposal is part of the budget. It remains to be seen, which could affect us. So that.
So, we've begun lining up some meetings with folks and trying to get ourselves a plan for a housing forum in the next couple of months. It's all pretty easy. Okay, infrastructure, it's been budget. But just to, you know, as the mayor mentioned at the beginning, you know, we have many projects lined up, and at this point, I think we're sitting and waiting for, you know, our, estimates and that sort of
Engineering
engineering work to come back to us, so we're just gonna. Or wait.
Okay. You good?
I could mention the finance committee met about the budget, but I didn't know if somebody else,
No, that's.
someone else's thunder, but like it's been budget.
Let's see, Complete Streets is working on the plan for the pop-up project on Court Street, which is a temporary paint, bike lanes and crossings on Court Street, and that's underway. They're actually meeting tonight about it, Kara and Jen, and we'll be in touch very shortly with Tim and the chief and coordinate the timing of that. It's looking like mid-May is sort of a target for that pop-up. And I'll update the board as we have, you know, more exact dates, and we'll put that in the media as well and make sure there's, you know, lots of notification for that. That's in the works. Sustainability Committee, continuing work on certification for clean energy communities and climate smart community. That's just a continuing ongoing thing. We had a real good meeting with EDF, the Ridge Road Solar Company, last night. That was very informative, and Barb and I were both part of that, and
Stimulated some questions.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, there will be definitely some comments coming out of that and input for upcoming negotiations with EDF. And that was, I learned a lot in that. And one other item, we got a DC grant for a new EV charger. We got $50,000 to get a new fast charger that will go on Hodgkin Street, replacing the non-working one. And so we'll meet soon and get some more input and information on what the charger options are. And we'll figure out the best possible deal for that. And that's about it.
Rec, we have met a couple of times.
We're very close on it.
What's that?
I said we're very close on it.
We are very close on the shared services. Done a whole lot about that and the budget, and we're meeting again next Monday. To wrap those things up. And again, thank you, Megan, for a lot going on. I can't remember stuff.
Oh, I did recommend this is, the lifeguard chat, obviously, the hot topic, so, if anybody didn't hear, the town decided not to fund it. And Smith is funding it, so.
We're gonna get a big old, you know, happy building for.
No, Jim and I met, on it. Before the materials,
It's
we're
fantastic.
in a good building.
We heard that through the grapevine.
Yeah.
We've seen you, you know.
He
face to face.
wanted to do it by the end of April, and I said, well, you have it until the end of May. I
Nobody's coming up there at the end of it.
Hey, you know,
They were out there this weekking.
it was beautiful.
They were-
Yeah,
Not the water, but
Well,
that's dangerous, that's the dangerous thing. Oh, yeah.
Not that I would know, I wasn't here, but.
No, I drove through. Anything else?
Leslie, one.
I would just say shared services met today and we went through all the agreements except rec. Quite ready and I have some minor changes to make, but we're good to go.
Great.
And it's just some.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. We're ready to move on? Communications and information, I have nothing to add. There's no legislator update. Old business. First item was 64 Main Street. I don't know how much longer that will stay on the agenda because that property is transferred to the village of Dow. So now there's some conversations about some cooperation on, you know, what we do. Help the parking lot out for a while, where we're gonna head with the building itself. So more to come.
Great.
19 Minor Street, is the next one. The letter was signed with the bank and we're just waiting to move.
Perfect.
Great, the commitment letter signed. So, and our attorney will be busy on all of that, so,
Things will move quickly.
okay. Good.
Mr. Cohen's attorney is out of the country for about a week or two.
Yeah, the end of the month. And
Yeah, but either way, I think there's not much that I think really he needs to address, and it's just a few things with the bank, and once we, I think, start the appraisal, right?
there's they call it an abbreviated appraisal that they have to do, but they have our original appraisal.
So I would think when we close, we certainly come by one.
Right.
Okay, that's good news.
Then you own almost the whole block, right?
Yeah, well, I hope we don't own it for very long.
Very long.
Okay, Bill Buchan. You're out there? There he is.
Good evening.
Took a little bit longer to get to you, but thanks for your patience. I hope everything's going okay tonight.
I'm good. Had a little bit of a medical emergency today, but everything's taken care of, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight to talk about the 94C project, the Rich Road project. And it's a little bit like eating an elephant. Where do you start? So I want to start kind of with the first deliverable that we have for the village. By the end of the month, we need to submit a request for funding for the village's participation in the 94C review process. So let me back up for just a second. As you know, I've been working with the town of Canton to work through permitting for 7 community solar projects. And community solar projects are relatively small, 5 megawatt, 50 acre projects where the power is put into the local distribution grid. That's as opposed to Rich Road, which is a 1,700 acre project, 240 megawatts, where the power goes into the transmission system at high voltage and is transferred elsewhere. So on the community solar side, 6 of the 7 projects have been through the planning board review process. Host community benefit agreements have been put together. Pilot agreements for 3 of those have been put together. And that process is well underway. 94C is the statute that governs the Rich Road project. And this is much different in the sense that Rich Road will be permitted by a new agency, a new state agency called the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, or ORES, which is a board made up of appointed persons from the state of New York primarily. There are local representatives, but none of them are present here tonight with us. Our ability to participate is through a comment process, if you will. It starts by submitting an application for funding to be able to provide comments that will improve the record that ORES is going to develop. So part of the regulations that are at play here require the developer, in this case EDF Renewables, to put $1,000 per megawatt into the hands of ORES, and then they make that funding available to interveners such as the village, the town, the county, and other parties that have an interest. So the village has an interest in this project, even though it's not physically located in the village. And by the end of the month, I'm going to submit an application for funding. There's a total of $180,000 for local governments. It's my policy to ask for $180,000 for every government. and let ORES decide how much is appropriate for each local government. Because I don't know how to split that pie in a fair way. And it ultimately comes down to their decision anyway. So by the end of the month, I need to articulate the specific concerns that we have as a village, how this project is going to impact village residents, village businesses, folks who travel to and from the visit, through and from the village, through Route 11, which will be the host on both sides of the road to solar panels. So my hope tonight is to come away from our discussion with some concepts of how this project may impact the village, what the village's concerns may be, so that I can offer to ORES the kinds of things that we want to weigh in on that are unique to the village. So I'd very much like to hear from the board about the things that are on your mind and the things that you think may be of concern. I believe that there may be an economic impact on the village from this project. I believe that there'll be an impact on higher education facilities. And I believe that there'll be traffic impacts. I believe that there will be environmental impacts. So my question to you is, what's on your mind? Help me to understand the village's perspective so that I can articulate that, both for the funding application and then as the record is built over the next 1 to 2 years. Let me speak just generally about the ORES process because it's brand new. There are very few projects that have been through the complete ORES process. It's built upon the public service laws requirements for major power plants. So a major power plant is 25 megawatts or above. Now, I know megawatts may not mean much to folks out in the audience, but let me give you an example. The nuclear power plant in Oswego is 800 megawatts. The Rich Road project will be 240 megawatts. So it's a major power plant with a significant footprint and a significant amount of power being generated. So I guess I'd like to start with whatever is on your minds specifically about this project, whether it's questions, whether it's concerns. Help me to understand the village's unique perspective. What is it that you as trustees and as the mayor have heard from your constituents? What are the things that we want to talk about from the village's perspective with respect to this project that's going to be landing in our midst within the next couple of years?
Anyone like to begin?
Well, I would just echo that what you're saying about economic impact. I think the village is the part of the economic engine. You know, there's businesses in the town, of course, but the vast majority of businesses are in the village. And it stands to reason this is really changing the nature of the town. You know, what we've all known as a rural agricultural nature to what? You know, I think there's a lot of unknowns, you know. EDF talks about all the employment, it's really construction jobs that go away, and then we have 4 jobs. So I think that, you know, you think about 4 jobs, and then you think about all the jobs that might have been connected to agricultural. You know, not, it's more than 4, for sure. Yeah. And the trickle down, what about White and Patterson is in the village? They are, you know, sell agricultural feed, supplies, whatever. What is the impact on that? What is?
That's helpful. Thank you for that. I agree with you. I think there will be economic impacts. Essentially, the agricultural setting that we currently enjoy is going to change dramatically by the presence of almost 2,000 acres of solar panels. and all the infrastructure that connects them. And economic impacts are exactly the kinds of things that the office, that ORES is going to be looking at as items that need to be mitigated by the developer. So although we, neither the town nor the county nor the village will issue permits for this project, this is our opportunity to raise our voices to indicate the kinds of permit conditions that should be in the permit when it ultimately issues. So I think economic impacts are certainly top of my list as well. Help me understand how the higher education facilities impact the village, whether it's folks that live in the village, that work in the higher ed fields. Help me understand how higher ed will be impacted by this.
It's going to be hard to say exactly how higher ed will be impacted. In some ways, there may be a view that it's a positive thing. You know, this is the future of our country, our state. But we don't know. And that's, I think, the real problem is, you know, the visual impact coming to our community, I think will say something to our colleges and our universities. This is a college town. This is our economy. This village, this is our economy in this village. We survived a lot over the years from other places. You know, we've seen a downturn in manufacturing, but you know, we've had education here, and that's been what's kept us going.
Yeah, it's a huge industry. I mean, we have 4 colleges within 10 miles, and 2 of them have a huge impact in our village. You know, the students that are attracted to come here, a lot of it has to do with the environment.
The pastoral landscape, you know,
Right.
it's a different feel
Right.
to drive.
They come here to.
They come
leave the
here
city.
because of our rural nature. And, you know, one of the colleges has a big environmental studies and historically has drawn students, and a big portion of their students, and we have an environmental commitment that our students, you know, helped drive for the administration to take on. And the faculty use our area and our nature for their study. And as their classroom. I'm very concerned about that piece of it. And as you come into our village and there are, you know, these massive pieces of equipment that are covering our nature, that's a different kind of environment. It's a different message. You know, you got to balance the sustainability with, you know, the classroom piece. But I do think that that could have a negative impact for some, you know, people coming in, and us, you know, potentially recruiting. I don't know. That's some of my thinking. This is massive. I mean, I traveled up and down the East Coast last week, and I saw some of these massive, and it's a very different feel. And it's not nature that you're looking at. It's covering it up.
How is the village specifically, what role does the village play and the village population play with respect to the higher ed facilities? I would imagine that there are faculty that live in the village, travel back and forth. I would imagine there's student housing in the village as well. There are, it's just a guess, but I suspect that some of the bars may get college traffic as well. So help me understand, you know, from the village point of view, if there were to be impacts on higher education that were negative, how does that translate to the village and to the folks in the village and the culture in the village? Is there anyone who can help me understand if the education facilities take a hit, how does that translate to the village?
daughters in Canton, partly because the colleges are here. And there's culture that comes with the college, and there are events on campuses, and both campuses, offer an opportunity to have town gown relations and community members to come onto their campuses. And the village is inviting the students to come into our community as well. So I think that there's a lot of back and forth. Absolutely, you have faculty, you have staff as well, who live in the region for sure. We're recruiting people, to be here and live here. And part of the beauty of Canton is the sprawling rural area and the nature that you can take advantage of. So that's my 2 cents. I've been talking a lot. Anna, it looks like you would.
Well, I would just piggyback on that and say, in the recruitment of those faculty and those staffs, like ultimately what we're coming down to is tax dollars.
Yep.
As well as the fact that, along with the.
Housing market.
Our housing market, right?
So that affects the school.
Which is right, it affects the school. Also, when people come here for jobs at the colleges, they're often bringing their families, which often include the spouse that is then part of our workforce in some other way, right? So there's impacts, to the workforce.
Would it be helpful to know, like, if we got a rough number from the colleges of what percentage of their faculty and staff lived in the village? Or the village and the town? I mean,
I think there's really 2 stages to our involvement, if you will. Today, I need to articulate in more general terms that there will be impacts upon the village, and that we as a village government need to respond and to offer mitigation. We have concerns. There may be things that can be done. What are those things? The more substantial comments that we will develop, we have some time for those. Today, I'm trying to identify issues. What are the issues where the village has a unique perspective? I believe that this discussion about higher education is extremely relevant to the issues that are important to the village. And you've really helped me to kind of highlight what those interactions are on a daily basis at every level. And I really appreciate the input on this. Now, the next question is a little more difficult, and that is outside of the impacts on the pastoral environment, which I agree with completely, the economic impacts, higher education. Are there any unique environmental areas within the village that we should identify and talk about at this stage? It's just a general question. Environmental matters are one of the key areas that have to be analyzed. I don't know at this moment whether EDF has done a proper job of that, but I want to focus on environmental impacts that would affect the village and the people who live and work in the village. Do you have any input for me on that?
Well, it would be helpful to know if they're planning to use herbicides to control weeds and plants under and around the solar panels. I've heard from numerous people that are very concerned about potential use of herbicides, which will be a large impact with 2,000 acres worth. That's a concern I heard from people.
and it's pretty close to the river. I mean, it's not right on the Grass River, but
Very
runoff
close,
wise,
yeah.
I would say the herbicide thing could potentially.
Affect
And
the
that
river.
helps, I mean, people go fishing, the people there's.
Yep.
Boating, there's recreational effects of.
Sure.
Directing the river water and the river.
It's not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you were kayaking on the river, will you be able to see this solar project? Would it,
It comes almost to Minor Street, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
but I don't think it comes down where you would see it.
Probably not quite to the river.
No.
It's pretty close. It's a couple hundred yards
But if
from
you're.
across Minor Street from the nearest point to the river. I'm guessing it's,
Couple hundred yards, I thought it was further than that.
think it's further than that.
Yeah,
But we
No.
have mountain bikers.
I don't even
and,
think it comes close.
You know,
so one of the things that we can do as a village is that we can require visual impact analysis to determine from these recreational corridors, whether or not there will be a view to the solar panels. For example, the topography rises, certainly from Route 11. I'm not really familiar with the other side down towards the river, but I know that rivers are in the low-lying part of the community.
Right.
So visual impact analysis, that was one of the first things that I raised with EDF when they first came to town. We want a robust visual impact analysis. What are people going to see and how are you going to mitigate it? Is it going to be with plantings? What kind of plantings? What size?
Yep.
We want to delve into that because it goes back to the question of what is the feel in the community when suddenly you have 2,000 acres of solar panels? Are they visible? Is it when you're traveling Route 11, what are you going to see? And what are you going to do to mitigate those impacts, EDF? So visual impacts on recreational areas is a sensitivity in the regulations. So thank you for that. That's one of the things that I think we will add to our job at this point is to say to ORES, we can help to develop a full record. Your ultimate permitting decision will be based upon our input specifically about the things that affect the village particularly. Obviously, the county is going to have comments, the town is going to have comments, et cetera. But we need to articulate our own specific concerns that impact our residents and our property values, et cetera. And I did mention property values, and I will tell you that that is something that we will certainly want to include to determine whether or not there will be impacts on the real property markets in the village because of all the things that we've already talked about. There is lots of data out there that speak to the issue of impacts on property values. Some good, some not so good. So we'll want to weigh in on that. Traffic. At this point, the routes that they plan to use to bring in their equipment, to my knowledge, are all exclusively through town roads and state roads. Any sense of whether there are specific impacts from traffic on village roads?
Well, state highway comes right through the middle of the village and it's the busiest road in the county. We're Route 68 and Route 11 and Route 310, and it all comes together through this village. And, they may say they're traveling on state roads, but depends where they're coming from.
Right.
They're gonna come right through the village. So I think that's a real concern.
Well, one of the things that we can do is we can influence their routes of travel for materials, for deliveries, and to specify the routes that would have the least impact on the communities. So I'm having that conversation with the town at this point. I'd like to continue the conversation with the village to make sure that the impacts on the village residents and businesses are mitigated as well.
I'm just looking at the map here, and I'll tell you another thing. Right at the outskirts of town, of the village, I mean, is the probably last Tallman Road. That's really the last chunk of lots for residential development. There's a few houses there, but there's it's zoned for, it's developable for more.
Residential and commercial, there's
Yeah, right.
a mix.
Right, but the part down by the river, those are housing lots. There's not that many left in the village.
right.
And if you look at this map, it's really, the gray, it's right there. I mean, so in essence, it's
Very close,
very close to what is the last remaining
developable
developable house
land,
On that side of,
right?
on that side of town.
And that would impact property values.
and that would definitely impact
Huge.
property values and recruitment and
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of those things.
And,
And I
and,
can imagine.
and just not only on the higher end piece, but just the recruitment piece, we do have a newer hospital facility that's
Yep.
been built in Canton, so it's not just higher ed recruitment.
Yeah.
It is medical and healthcare recruitment too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which
So-
impacts the whole quality of life. Yeah.
Right, for medical care.
Terrific. Help me again with that location. Did you say Tallman Road?
So Tallman Road's the main marked road. There's 4 houses out
As you
there.
head out of the village south on Route 11. You go under the railroad tracks. And then up the hill, Tallman House, that is on the left-hand side.
And it's land that slopes down towards the river.
Right.
It's very attractive,
Yes.
but there aren't that many village lots
No.
in the village.
Yeah, they actually.
I'll have to look again at the map a little bit. Because, you know, I want to look at a big.
A bigger map, yeah.
Forget the
But
other
this
word.
is from one of their exhibits.
Right.
So just something that I don't know as much about, but the glare factor, is that something that we can talk about in terms of driving, or is that already addressed adequately?
Well, let me just say this. Yes, we certainly want to make sure the traveling public is protected from those kinds of impacts. But
Dave?
if you think about what ORES is doing, you've seen the binders that are in the hall.
Right.
Essentially, every section of the environmental conservation law and many of the sections in the public service law are all essentially picked out of those statutes and put into the ORES regulations. So things like glare and glint and visual impact analysis, those are plucked from the environmental conservation law and put into the 94C regs. So essentially what the state has done is they've tried to construct a set of regulations that touch upon all of the different areas that should be of concern for the development of a major power plant. And they've imported into their regs those requirements from other parts of state law. So on pretty much everything that we've discussed tonight, there is something in the regs that commands the developer to study, to provide mitigation, alternatives, et cetera. So it's all in there. The question is, does it address the specific concerns that we have as a village? And that's our job over the next year, is to try to identify what are those impacts that are unique. Now, for example, this last discussion we had about the last developable lots that are properly zoned, that's something that we need to bring to the table and say, if you don't mitigate visual impacts, et cetera, from that area, you're going to diminish the tax revenues for the village. It's not going to be as attractive for folks to come and develop. These are the kinds of things that we want to bring out and make sure that EDF is required to do the things that can be done. So our job is in the first instance to make sure that we have a voice in this, that we can participate as a village government, and to offer areas where there should be further study and mitigation. We have, fortunately, the town has retained Barton & LaJudas, the engineering firm, to go over the application. I'm working with them very closely on whether or not the impact analysis that's been provided is fulsome and adequate and accurate. So I think it may be possible, because of this unique straddle that I have between the town and the village, to bring some of the technical skills necessary for analysis to the table. And that's part of why I'm happy to be here with the village, so that I can hear your concerns and we can address them thoroughly and completely. I want to offer one other thought, because I think it's important for perspective. I've now been working with Canton for 2 years, focused on the community solar projects, but I've met with EDF half a dozen times to hear their concerns, their offer of mitigation, and to try to point out to them things like Route 11, which everybody uses on a regular basis. You have to mitigate those impacts. If we are successful in identifying and negotiating the kinds of mitigation that are available, we will not stop this project. I think the prospects of derailing it completely and having it go somewhere else are infinitesimally small. Unless,
I think we have to accept that.
I think you're,
Yeah, I think we all agree that that's what we're
Yeah.
facing. Yep.
so,
The-
I just want to put it out on the table, because that's my perspective as a professional. Unless there is an issue that arises that goes to the very heart of the siting of this facility, then we are looking for trying to make it as good as it can be. And I personally, I'm torn by that situation, because I've heard from a lot of voices in the town and voices in the village that we would rather not have it here. But the ability to shut it down completely, as I said, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And if you understand why the state took all of the authority into its own hands, it makes sense. Why did they do it? Because they passed a climate act. The Climate Act says we have to decarbonize our economy. We have to go away from fossil fuels. And that means we need alternative forms of energy throughout the state in massive scale. So folks like us, towns, villages, counties, who are normally part of the permitting process, we have been preempted entirely from the review process. So our role is to make sure that the siting board hears our voice, considers the things that we think are important, and requires mitigation by the developer, whether that's moving it from place to place, screening it from visual impacts on the community, etc. So over the next year, I hope to be talking with you a lot more about impacts and concerns. I mean, I would ask the board to please talk with your neighbors and your constituents, hear their voices and bring those back, so that we can make sure that all of them are considered and presented in this process. I've heard a lot of very interesting perspectives already. And I would ask, please, for your help and input to identify the things that are on people's minds, so that we can address them in a forthright and thorough manner.
I just have one question that you may or may not be able to answer. Given your explanation as to why the state has basically taken over this process, is there any regulation that dictates a percentage of land that they can occupy with these power plants in any given county? For the biggest county in New York State, we have a lot of land.
There's
How folks need that land? Nothing.
no such limitation.
Okay.
No, and it isn't even a consideration. So to maybe answer your question in a more direct way, there will be 0 94C projects on Long Island. There will be 0 in Manhattan. There will be 0 in the Bronx. There will be 0 in Brooklyn. They will all be here, upstate.
Right, and that's what concerns me a lot in this whole process, because we don't have any voice really to, you know, to mitigate how much land they're actually using. Yeah, we need power for all of those places, but what if, we gotta be able to use this land for farming. We have been the biggest dairy producers.
In general, we
state.
should be able to decide what
Exactly.
we want to use the land
Exactly.
ourselves.
And so that's what I'm publicly saying, that I'm concerned about that. That's all.
I would
Well,
say
there's
that
fire
a lot,
safety.
a lot of people, I feel like it's like, it's analogous, not exactly to like strip mining. You know, the people where they have strip mines don't reap the benefit of the strip mine.
Right.
They just happen to live in the wrong place.
Power's not coming here.
And they have no control over what's happening, and they face the environmental consequences of somebody else's economic gain. In
It's a
some
different,
ways, it feels like that.
it's a different kind of environmental concern. In the name of sustainability.
Right, I mean, that's the complicating factor.
That's the complicating factor.
We should be doing it for the world.
It's the term I use is environmental justice, which is typically used in the context of facilities that pollute and have impacts on communities that are underserved, underrepresented. This is almost the opposite in some ways. You know, we're here, local government. We typically have a role in what comes into our communities. We typically have a say. We have a planning board that can say, you know, we do not approve of your permit. But in this circumstance, with major power plants, we have review and comment kinds of roles. It's galling, but that's where we are. And as your counsel, I want to make sure you understand, I'll do everything I can to make your voice heard. But our expectations for being able to impact this to 0, I think are unrealistic.
And I appreciate that, and I totally appreciate your explanation. I am fully aware that this is not gonna go away. My bigger concern is how many more are gonna come right here in St. Lawrence County, because we have a lot of land, but we've got a lot of farming happening too.
Well,
So that's,
Let me address that. Because I think that there are facts that are helpful in this discussion. Why is it in Canton in the first place? Is it because we have cheap land? No. It's because of the New York Power Authority's transmission line.
right.
If you have the ability to take the power south, then there is an opportunity for development. Now, one of the things that I've learned in working on the community solar projects with the town is that the local distribution grid, those 3 wires on top of the pole in front of your home, that's saturated. There won't be any more community solar projects proposed in Canton, even if it's by the universities, because there's no capacity to host that power. So it's possible that somebody may come along and upgrade the substations so that the local distribution network could carry more power. It's possible that the power authority could bring in a new high voltage line. But I think those are remote possibilities. So in terms of having a significant amount of additional 94C development, without the transmission capabilities, it would make no sense. So I think it will be limited to what we're seeing now, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay. That power line goes all through the county, from Messina. I mean, it goes through Edwards. It's big. It's big. So I don't mean to make this longer. I just, quote me on anything you want. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody for their forthright comments. I appreciate it. I will be specifically, Scott, I would like to include some information from you in our application. So I'm going to reach out to you to make sure that we capture that. So I'll be on the phone with your office tomorrow to connect with you on that, just to make sure that we have everything that we need to submit our application. So I thank you very much for the time and attention and the thoughtful comments. And certainly if anything comes to mind or you hear something from your constituents that you think I ought to know, please let me know.
We will.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thanks for everybody's patience. I think this is very important that these conversations are had.
Absolutely.
And if any of you have any thoughts,
Yes, please.
you know, come on, we need to know. So, the next item on the agenda was community choice aggregation. We have,
A meeting
tomorrow.
Yep, we're gonna find out.
We'll know where we're at.
We're gonna find out, the RFP has been out for the past month almost. So we're gonna hear what some of the replies are and what the rates are gonna be. And we'll be in a discussion with Jewel over the next week or so. We will have till May 3rd to make a decision.
Okay.
And we should meet at some point before May 3rd, possibly at our
We
8
have-
AM meeting.
We have several
27th.
meetings that.
Yeah, we could meet
We can
then
do it.
or any of the meetings we have to discuss our options further and decide what we want to do. But we'll find out tomorrow what our rates are going to be and what the different options will be for us. So for
That's at 2:00
2 o'clock on Zoom. Yep.
and the Zoom link.
I'll make sure you have it if you don't already. I think everybody, I think.
I might
we all
have.
I thought everybody.
Yeah, all the board members got it from Jessica at Jewel last week. I think we all have it.
Okay. New business. Need a motion to authorize payment of vouchers and transfer funds.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? One item I had on here, the next one was the dog control officer. I did have contact with Ag and Markets yesterday, and then I was concerned about recertification of the individual. And that did happen, and then we got notification that the inspection was done. I think we still have to have some conversations about really go. But, you know, then he did meet the required inspection. So. I need a motion to approve the search for a laborer for DPW
So move.
advertising. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, should have all received, I know I put it in the, dropped it in the file for tonight. Dave Reagan's retirement letter is, he wants that effective September 17th of this year.
Let me just say that.
We would all love to say no.
Don't.
He's retiring, so.
Nobody begrudges me.
Oh, no.
He's done
No,
such
what a
service.
job.
So I need a motion to accept that, so moved. With regrets or whatever you want to do.
With regrets. Definitely.
All in favor?
He will be
Aye.
surprised.
Any opposed? And then with that, I need the approval to search for a new village electrician.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is to approve Josh Vine as provisional police sergeant. What's the matter?
I was just wondering if who searches for the village electrician.
I think, you know, we'll advertise and then it'll be a process. So,
Okay,
you
all
know,
right.
what, you know, we need to check civil service too. Make sure,
It's not,
check civil service to see if there's something there with that
okay,
piece.
All right,
but you know, when I say approve, you know.
yeah,
We're gonna
we'll
start
figure it out. Starting
that.
now.
But we need to, you know, we need to start early,
Yeah,
the right person, and then have a chance to,
have some overlap.
yeah.
My plan is to onboard him before.
Way
Very
before.
None
smart.
of this,
Some
you know,
training, maybe next month.
6 month gap and
Could they
then throwing
start
somebody out
tomorrow?
there.
He does a
Maybe we
tremendous,
can Figure out some kind of brain to brain transfer. Anytime.
You can work with David.
thumb drive, just stick in his ear.
Something, electrodes, it's gotta be something.
So are we passed that?
We did, we got. I'm sorry, that was-
No, that's fine.
Derail.
So I need approval for Josh Vine to be made provisional police sergeant.
So moved. I'm so excited. He's gonna be great.
Second,
Second. Okay, all in favor?
I,
I,
Yeah,
opposed?
I am thrilled. He's gonna be stellar.
yeah, I remember his interview, it was great.
Yeah, he's gonna be a great, good mentor. Sorry, Mike, I'm gonna move
It's
on.
okay, I'm good. When you're
Please
done.
tell him that.
Resolution for code enforcement grant. Should have gotten a copy of that, everyone.
Yeah.
There was a grant application that I did for a code enforcement officer. And Anna has worked with Tim to refine that and get it moving.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of money involved, but will benefit boat office and
Just a little. Just a little.
operations, so.
Yeah.
We need this resolution in order for this to proceed.
So moved.
I think Sam wanted to say something about it when you.
Well, first I was gonna ask you any questions, but you're ready to move on it, so.
we are going.
Why delay this in?
When I say this, yeah, it's a really generous grant and, I gotta thank, Lee for directing me to the honor for, mayor for signing a letter of interest. And
Well, I think I did the grant application, so how was that? I had to write it.
And, you know, the money, you know, is way more than we need, but it will really help in the future for more code compliant software. And the big part is the food place for that we use. Right. It's really big. Anything. I think that's the point. It's really good to have that support for the big projects that can overwhelm, you know, one person. In your code office. You know. So,
I don't underplay that our ability to use that grant money
okay,
or something.
and then
There are no-
the balance of it could also be for
Right.
clean energy purposes.
Yep.
or-
I'm sure we'll find a use.
Yeah, other futures.
I'm sure we'll find a good use.
Well, there's something, things,
Yep, you are, absolutely. Yep.
it's
Great.
good to be ready.
But for clarification, it's for 125, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 125,000. So you have, what's in front of you is the resolution for the third party support, which is part of it. So there's two pieces to the grant. The first part is the third party support, which Tim was just speaking about, which would really provides a process. Well, it provides money for the support, but there's also through NYSERDA, there's a process for, you know, ensuring that you can find people that are qualified according to certain specifications and all of that. So when there are these big projects, then this money, you know, provides for that. What Tim and I have been talking about is that money, you know, in terms of the third party support, to take a look at it and see what would be needed for these projects, and then we can have conversations about the other clean energy uses that it can be used for.
Great.
But the resolution before you is specifically, you know, it's required by NYSERDA, and it is essentially, we are authorizing Tim to allow for third-party review of plans for compliance with the energy code. That's what us doing this, that gives him that authority. So that's the point of this.
Great.
So do I have a motion?
I did.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? In favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the next item is to approve an RFP for code software. Did I get that correct? And that's another packet that you have.
Right.
And this is the request for proposal.
So this RFP was and thanks to both Lee and Sally for helping with this because it's an RFP that isn't exactly like any of the others that we had, so we can just, copy paste. This RFP is specifically for the software upgrades. Do you want to talk about that or?
Yeah, think about this existing software I have, it's, number one, it's like 10 years old.
Right.
It's pretty dated and a number of years ago, due to it not being created, I lost my codes that. Feature. I mean, it works all right for me, but there are a lot of other features that really benefit my office tremendously. Like, for instance, time review. Obviously, the codes. And there's a huge number of things that speak in the RFP. I mean, project tracking, communications, technical work. There's a huge number of items that would really be an enormous benefit to the code enforcement office.
And I'll just say, so this template, came from NYSERDA and it outlines all of the basics that are required by NYSERDA. Tim, added a few things to the scope of services that, would be especially useful for the office. I will just say that, we are asking that you, pass this with, the change that, we will change the date for submissions of proposals to May 11th, not May 8th. So that is one of the changes that we made. I'd already sent it to you, so I'm just gonna send it again.
Okay,
Do you need a motion?
yep,
So moved.
in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, fire department, approved fire department member Douglas Wilder.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? They sent out, also, chief sent me, the results of the latest, annual meeting in the fire department and the list of officers. Nothing has changed there. So I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The last item I added here was parking behind the movie theater. Got some complaints from the lady that manages the movie theater. A lot of trouble there. They kind of the way the post office functions,
Yeah.
they're parking on movie theater property and pretty tight going through there lots of times.
Yeah,
into that,
they're often
entrance.
blocking the alleyway there. Yeah.
But, and they have some trouble, if they gotta clean the roof off for snow and stuff like that.
Mhm.
There's, I think, 4 parking spots that are actually village property that are along the guardrail next to the movie theater that overlooks down into where the sandwich shop is, Drex.
Right.
Yep.
There was a question on whether there could be some reserved spots there for them. So, yeah, because by the time, for the employees there, and so they can provide some space, if they need to clean the roof off, especially in the winter time.
So they would
So we-
request parking and would put their cars there.
No, they would use it, but it'd also help reserve it for when they needed to do other maintenance. That oftentimes there's post office vehicles parked in front of the emergency exits and everything else, it's just.
It is.
Becoming a little bit more of a problem out there. So I'd like you to consider, parking for the bank. They have some reserved spots there for the bank.
Right.
They were looking for some reserved spots for the, they would have to provide signage for themselves. Give that some thought. I can bring it back next month.
Okay,
And then, maybe,
how many spots they want there?
I don't know, there's 4 there. 3 or 4 maybe. I don't know. I'll talk further if you're, don't mind me, pursuing that, I will.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. I
Is
don't
that
think-
something we would need a public hearing for?
I don't know. I think I'd have to talk to, our legal and, we did approve it, for the bank at one time.
Sure.
So I don't know where,
Years ago.
no, that's a while back. So, Scott, you and I can talk a little bit about that. I'm not gonna ask you for an opinion right now. But I just want to throw it out
Yeah.
there. If, you're interested in me pursuing it, then I will.
That's a reasonable thing. to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Public comment.
Don't want Dave though. Because if you do, he's gonna be hired by me.
Okay, there being none, I did want to mention, there's a joint meeting scheduled. And I think we've had to move it to May 4th. There's a conflict. So check your calendars, make sure that May 4th on a Thursday, 6. I think it's a 6 o'clock. It's a joint meeting, that'll be, it should be the town that handles it now. So. Okay,
Got it.
that being said. Need a motion to go into executive session for labor. Issues,
So.
Second,
all in favor? Any opposed? And, please stay.
It's cold in here.
I'm sorry.
Another reason they introduced the building.
Thanks, everybody.